I
Yeah.
was feeling good.
We were.
Oh,
Let's see. I think
Says meeting is now streaming live. So.
invalid. Oh
so
shit.
Spinal
Invalid.
Tap, shit sandwich. Stand up a minute, Greg.
Oh yeah. Shark Sandwich Tour, 1980.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Uh, invalid. Oh, go. Spinal Tap, shit sandwich. Stand up a minute, Greg.
As we hear the instant playback.
Yeah, instant playback, man.
Yeah.
So, Wayne, are we live?
Gonna be. I just have to put in the password. Hold on. We're live on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
So our four fans can watch us live
Yeah.
as we speak.
Yeah, as I'm trying to figure out where do I put this password.
You don't remember where you fucking put your password? How many
Up
passwords
your
do you
ass and
have?
to the left.
No, because I'm broadcasting to free world, but now I don't know where to put the password.
I just told you.
Wait, Free World is not one of those Trump sites, is it?
No.
All right.
No, it's like an online radio thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a radio show. I can't log in because I don't. Oh, I know.
I have to be associated with that bullshit. All right.
Well, do you have to do it from the free world site?
No, I have to do it from this program.
Hey,
Okay.
chaps.
Hello.
Evening, Lou.
Manny, welcome
Hey,
back.
legendary Lou is in there.
Hey,
Hey,
everyone's
thank
favorite
you.
musical pygmies back on the Hot Salad Review.
That was wrong. Would be Wayne. I got that title, not you. Remember?
Nah, that's okay. I'll wear the crown proudly.
Hmm. Interesting. Bear with
Well,
us.
while Wayne tried.
You guys
Oh,
can talk. Let me figure this out real quick. I just got to get a password.
Yeah,
all
sorry I
right. So
jumped on late. I just last time I went on, Wayne said that my signal was lagging, so I just restarted my computer before it came on.
Gotcha.
well, it might be the weather where you're at. I had to use my phone, and so I was telling Wayne before I showed up here. My car was parked out in sort of the street, and the street was flooding because of so much rain. So I thought, oh shit, my car's going to stall out. So I had to drive it. It was almost up to the water wheel. I drove it just right to the center, like you're supposed to. But
Mm-hmm.
even that short distance is enough to screw your car up. So
Ugh.
but I made it and had to take back towards my friend's house, and But now that I know this phone thing works, I can just do it from home or my girlfriend's house or even the long bar, my hangout. So
Girlfriend official?
yeah, it's official. I had to put it up because I was getting messages from these other people. So, or else I wouldn't change the status. So,
Ah,
and yeah,
very
it's
cool.
official. Actually, I like her a lot. You
Very
know,
cool. Hope it
which,
works out.
yeah, which I've never said about anyone, have I, Wayne?
No, I don't think
They're,
so.
yeah. Oh, all right. So, why, Greg?
Yes.
Why did you choose? I love Blondie personally. I'm a huge fan. I don't believe Wayne is, and Lou, I don't think has a opinion either or. Is that correct, Lou?
I am a fan of their radio hits, but I'm willing to admit that's all I know of them. I never listened to a Blondie album until today, and I'll
Okay.
give my opinion on that later when it's my turn to speak.
Okay. So, Greg, why did you? Because we mainly do heavy metal and hard rock, and of course, unlike Wayne, we're not musical pygmies. So, why did you choose Blondie to talk about
I can hear
today?
you.
No recurring fees.
Well, fuck. What? There's this radio station up here, and well, first of all, I love Blondie. I just hadn't listened to him in a long time, but as I was moving, I really just had the streaming on the phone, and there's this radio station up here, WKOWS Cows. Haha, very funny, very Midwestern. But anyway, on Saturday nights,
Damn it, Greg.
Greg, Lou's about to die there.
yeah, I know. I said that whole thing like Frank Zappa would have.
Exactly like Zappa would have.
Yeah, that wasn't like Frank Zappa. It was exactly like Frank Zappa. Anyway.
Oh.
But they'll
Jesus.
highlight certain artists on Saturday nights and play a bunch of shit by them for like a 3 hour block. And they did one on Blondie, and they started with the very first independent release of Ex Offender as a single before Chrysalis picked them up. And they went all the way through up to the Hunter. So that was pretty cool. And I was like, damn, I gotta start listening to Blondie. So I threw like the first 4 albums on my streaming and was just listening to that for like 2 days straight.
It's really good stuff. We'll talk about it more, but their history is interesting. I mean, Deborah Harry, when did that come? I think the single came out in 75, right? Because the first
Yeah.
album was 76. So it sounds funny, but 29 years old in the 1970s, making your first debut. She had recorded something years ago. What was it called? The Wind and the Willow. That's the name of the band. You can see why it didn't go very far. It was, basically it was like Joni Mitchell, if Joni Mitchell wasn't able to write a single song in her life, but that folksy, Peter, Paul, and Mary, not giving any hint that the front woman had any talent. She could sing, but it definitely did not have a distinct style. It could have been anybody, that kind of album.
Yeah.
You know?
No, Debbie Harry has quite a unique attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Looks and everything, and the way she writes songs. I mean, she stood out.
Definitely, and definitely an influential front woman. Actually, just an influential band, man, woman or man, regardless. But she was 29 years old when she made that single. And keep in mind, back in the 70s, I mean, Bon Scott, if you remember when we talked to Jesse Fink, Bon Scott thought he was too old to make it in rock and roll because he was almost 29, so
Yep.
it's just incredible considering, Mick Jagger is 81, and anyway, we could go on. So what, Wayne, are you on?
I
All right,
can't even hear him.
I think Wayne passed out. Anyway, we'll get back to Wayne and his drinking problem.
Wayne's
And a
looking
little
more
later.
like Art the Clown now than I've ever seen him before.
Sitting back there crying, drinking shots, listening to Crazy Nights, probably. Everybody can see a reason to.
Oh, this is the greatest Kiss album ever. Anyway.
Yeah, I must be a dweeb because I just don't. It wasn't one of my least favorite Kiss albums on that review that we did.
I actually like the fucking album. I just think it's.
I mean, My Way's a horrible song. Let's get it right.
Okay, that's terrible. Well, so is No, No, No. I mean, but
I disagree with that, but okay.
All right, but if you ever were curious what Kiss would sound like, or Bon Jovi would sound like fronted by Paul Stanley, you got Crazy Nights.
Pretty much.
I mean, I thought Bruce did a killer solo on No, 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 and he wrote the music for that, so I think that's why I like that
song.
I mean, the lyrics are duh. I mean, most of Kiss's lyrics are duh. Let's not get it twisted. Why are we talking about Kiss during a Blondie episode? God damn it, Manny.
All right. Now back to you for a minute, Lou. What's your history with the band? I know you said only the greatest hits, but what's your history with Blondie?
Yeah. So, again, the privilege of having two older brothers who were your musical encyclopedia, digging through all their cassettes. My eldest brother actually owned the best of Blondie on cassette. The best of Blondie on cassette. And, I knew the songs Heart of Glass and Rapture and Call Me. And, I think even Ripper to Shreds was on it. And I remember Ripper to Shreds was actually on the soundtrack for one of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I think it was number 5.
Part 4.
Really?
It was Dream Master,
yeah,
not the Dream Child. Okay. So,
wow.
I mean, I knew of Blondie, and I remember I was in my freshman year of college and a college radio DJ, and Beyond Records also sent us the new Blondie album. They serviced college radio with it, and Maria was the song that we played from it. So, I thought it was a catchy song, and it gave me an idea of how good they were and why they were as heralded as is. But another thing that I recall correctly, I used to be a Marilyn Manson fan, but not one of those kids that would wear the all gothed out makeup. I mean, I never even owned a Marilyn Manson shirt, but I was a fan of his music, and I remember that his guitarist at the time, Daisy Berkowitz, his original guitar player, wore Blondie T-shirts. And being a New York kid and going to the East Village a lot growing up, it was definitely an I would call it sort of like an influential time in my formative years. But I still never got around to listening to Blondie because it wasn't my generation at the time, which was the mid 90s. I was more into like the hardcore thing that was going on. And I don't mean Korn, I mean that
No, I know,
nothing
right?
against new metal, but just so people don't get it confused. Like I was talking about like Vision of Disorder, Earth Crisis, and things like that. So, I definitely grew to respect and appreciate Blondie's contributions to music, although I thought that their induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was rather unfortunate. Not that they got inducted, but the fact that certain ex-members were shunned by Debbie Harry. But I'm not in the music business. I'm not in the music industry. It doesn't affect me either way. But just and I don't know the inner workings of what the band was like, so I don't get involved. But in the end, what matters is the music. And listening to these two albums, this is the first time ever I've listened to them, and all I could say is, fuck me for waiting so long to listen to them, because these are damn good albums.
Cool. We're going to talk about them. Greg, what about you? What's your history? And then I'll have to get into mine unless Wayne comes back.
I am back.
By the way, Greg, funny thing, when we did the In Trance album review for Screams to the Grave, we both thought that the woman on the album cover was Debbie Harry.
Yeah, she looks a lot like her.
Dead ringer. Dead freaking ringer.
I'll have to look at that. We need to revive that series. I mean, I never was on it, but
I've been working on Sundays, unfortunately, but hopefully not for long. We'll see. All right, Greg, continue.
Cool. Well, this was just shit I would find going through my parents' records, or even just watching stuff on MTV or whatever, on the radio. So I found it through the hits like Heart of Glass and Call Me and all that. But the first album I liked a lot. I remember because it was different. It was harder. It's a little bit punkier, but it's more than that. I guess you'd call it the first post-punk, really. But they still had that raw, chaotic edge, which they got rid of later. But we'll talk about that when we get into it more. But I listened to whatever I wanted. I really didn't care too much. The first two Marilyn Manson albums were all right. I'll give you that. I still like them, but for the most part, I didn't like what was current at the time, really. A couple of things here and there, but so I'd go back and listen to all this, and the songs are written great, played great, and Debbie Harry was just so striking. So I loved it from the beginning.
cool. And Wayne, before I get into my story, what about you? What's your history, of any, with Blondie?
Oh, and I saw a Videodrome. Yes.
My
That's
history.
right. She's an actress. She did acting for a while. I forgot
Yep.
about that. Wayne?
My history of Blondie is actually started with the chip. What? Why are you groaning?
Go ahead.
Who's groaning? I'm
Manny.
chewing gum here. Oh, okay. His first experience of Blondies with Dagwood. Anyways, I'm sorry.
No,
continue.
it actually started with the Chipmunks.
What?
The Chipmunks. Yes, the Chipmunks did a
How
cover of
Simon Theodore. Like that
yes,
type
they
of
did a
shit?
cover of Call Me.
The punk album from the Chipmunks?
Yes.
Oh, for God's sake.
This show has now been canceled by YouTube.
Nerd.
Yeah, that was my exposure to Blondie, and that was the last time I ever listened to Blondie until last week. I have no reason to listen to Blondie. The only Blondie songs that I like are the things that are usually on the radio.
The hits, yeah.
Yeah,
The hits.
I told you,
yeah.
Lou is the musical pygmy in this group. And continue. Right.
But today I was like, you know what, we're gonna do this today. So let me give Blondie a little bit more of a chance than I did because I only listened to him once last week. So I said, all right, today I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to as much as I possibly can while I'm at work. So I got through like 4 albums, and I started at the first one. I did the first 4, and just nothing really grabbed me besides the stuff I already knew. There was a couple songs like we'll get into it later. Ex Offender. I thought that song's really cool, and some other ones I totally forgot were Blondie songs, and I so some of those I thought were okay, but for the most part, I just can't get into like the songs that just I never heard, like the ones that aren't on the radio. I just can't get into the other ones, and I like punk, and I know there's some, there's punk elements in there, and there's all sorts of there's a lot of shit going on with Blondie, and a lot of things that I hear in other bands that I like too. I even hear some things that like Ghost have copied from Blondie. I can tell they're from taken from Blondie, but yeah, I just can't get into them that much. And I know you're a huge fan, man. You're in love with what's
Deborah Harry, absolutely.
Harry.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah. So
I don't even like blondes. I think she's attractive.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, my story is simple. As Wayne points out, that he loves to point out that I'm old. He mainly
I didn't
points
say
out,
you're old. Not today.
No, not today.
He didn't call you deep fried.
But besides, I love Wayne. No, that's next week. He'll call me that.
And it's a shame. I wanted to get Craig. He was on here once before when we did the Ramon show. He's from the band The Stress. I wanted to get him on. He was supposed to come on, but he was too busy tonight because he's actually a huge fan of Blondie. He just saw them, I think, either last year or the year before. So he actually see them recently, but he loves those first few albums. So it would have been nice to have him on, but he will get him on again at some other point.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. Well, mine's easy.
Oh, and
as Wayne points out,
Stan's in the chat. Hello, Stan.
Did Stan have any comments besides any, or just saying hello?
He just said my name.
Oh, well, of course.
Like he's Norm from Cheers.
Yeah.
All right, Manny, you were saying?
Continue, man.
As long as my girlfriend doesn't say your name, Wayne, when I'm with her, I'm okay with that. Anyway.
Oh my God, this is taking a bad turn. All right, come on.
She's actually calling me. Let me take this call.
Well, mine's easy. I was 1978 New Year's Eve. Dick
God
Clark.
Damn, you're old.
I told you.
Wait, shut up. Let him speak.
You know what, Wayne?
Manny, just continue.
How come why do I look younger than you, Wayne? But anyway,
I don't know. It can't be less stress because you got like 8,000 kids. So I don't know.
Greg, let's jump on this call. Just do another episode of Screams to the Grave right now, please. You and me. Let's just do it.
Might as well. Well, Bosley over there.
It must be a Mexican thing. I don't know. I'm not Mexican, but go ahead.
What?
You bastard. Yeah, all right. We'll ignore Wayne's racial comments for now. But
he's never met a girl named Rachel in his life. What? We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back.
Anyway, so
all right,
Manny, continue.
I saw her New Year's Eve, Dick Clark, and I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And I think that was the first time I got an erection right there watching TV. It was a beautiful moment, at my young
flag,
age.
My son?
Yeah. And suddenly I understood. Suddenly I was happy I was born a man. Suddenly the world went from black and white to Technicolor as soon as I saw her. Oh, yeah, and the song wasn't bad either. But it was Heart of Glass, which has now become a music video. Years later, like Lou, I know you didn't own it, but your brother owned it. I was at a flea market. I was like 14 years old, and I bought the Best of Blondie, mainly because I thought she looked so hot in the cover, even though it had the other 4 goons on it. I really was focused on her. But Blondie was the band, and I bought it. And those guys, and like Wayne and you, Lou, point out, even if you're not a fan, those guys knew how to write fantastic singles. I don't know if that was the intention or not, but they knew a hook, and they can pick out a single, because as you both point out, you listen to those albums, and I'm not sure the standout tracks or the singles, not because they're better songs, but the hooks to them, and they stand out. Those guys knew how to write pop songs, but I also think it's because Deborah Harry and Chris Stein, her then boyfriend and main songwriter. Their main influence, yeah, they came from the punk scene, but their main influence wasn't Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple. It was like Phil Spector type ball of sound, that kind of the Beach
60s
Boys.
singles type music and girl groups.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of similar to the Ramones in a way. With
Yeah,
surf
actually,
rock.
that's a good point. That's a good point. And that was their main influence. Obviously, the early Beatles, not the latter day Beatles. And of course, they had their own quirkiness to it. And it's funny that the term post punk is used for them because anything past like 1978 is called post punk. So punk, what, lasted 1 year? I mean, that's not just you, Greg. That's journalists have been doing that forever, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I never understood the comparison except for the fact that Blondie, like the Ramones, like Talking Heads, played CBGB, which
That's the only connection I
that's
get.
the only connection I see with the punk scene.
Yeah, that's all I see personally. I think it's cool because of Talking Heads, television, the Ramones,
Mhm.
the Dead Boys. You guys throw out any other band you can think of from that New York scene.
The Dictators
None of
is
them
another one.
sound alike. Oh yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. They're a little bit earlier, but they're still part of that scene, you know. And yeah, and none of those bands sound anything alike. It's pretty amazing, you know, to me.
Oh,
Yeah, like I could see the post-punk moniker going to bands that played without gain on their amps, you know, like a Joy Division or like The Cure, you know, because you know that stuff kind of came after that CB's era. So
And
I don't know. I think Blondie should just be called a pop rock band for all intents and purposes that just happened to be at the right place at the right time and boomed with the CB's
well,
scene.
you what it more is, so when I say post punk, it's just because that's kind of what they call that sound,
I
basically
get
that's
it.
exactly
raw
correct.
garage
That's
rock
exactly
with
right.
extra elements thrown in. But when it comes to Blondie, no, they were actually a little bit earlier than that. And what it's more like is like that 60s stuff mixed with the glitter rock and the intensity and DIY type attitude of the bands like early Mott the Hoople that Guy Stevens would produce, kind of mixed in with that later CBGB's culture. So it's not really post punk, but it damn
No, I get
sure isn't. Yeah.
that wasn't a knock on you at all, Greg. It was just
No, I'm
because
just
Yeah, no,
explaining it better.
only
yeah,
because I've heard that terminology used for them before, and it's like how, like they were during the punk,
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
the CB's era. So continue.
well, Greg, I like the fact you point out Mott the Hoople because I think Mott the Hoople is a huge influence on that whole New York glam scene that's rarely acknowledged. We hear about T Rex and David Bowie, and should I mention the guy I always mention, Alice Cooper?
Why
But we
not?
always hear about, we always hear about those guys. But Mott the Hoople, we forget. Mott the Hoople, and I'll get back to Blondie. Slade, T Rex didn't make it in the United States, but Mott the Hoople and the Sweet did. Mott the Hoople's kind of history's kind of swept aside, but Mott the Hoople had a lot of hit singles in the United States, all the way from Memphis to Golden Age of rock and roll. Unfortunately, they're not really played on classic rock radio anymore. All the Young Dudes, which of course was their biggest hit, but those were huge albums, and people forget that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they were an influence on Blondie, if nothing else, image wise. And Ian Hunter is acknowledged great songwriter. I mean, even Bob Dylan thinks Ian Hunter is a great songwriter.
Oh,
So
certainly. He did a good Dylan too.
I
yeah, he
mean,
did. I don't know if that was the purpose, but
I mean, Joe Elliott is a huge Mott the Hoople fan. I mean, he even has this band, the Down and Outs, which were originally formed
Yeah.
just to play Mott the Hoople deep cuts, and that was as per request from Ian Hunter himself. So
wow.
Pretty cool.
that's another band that I need to dig into. I mean, I've only heard of them. I know all the Young Dudes, and I know that's a Bowie written track, but I'm open to exploring them for any future Rat Style review episodes.
You got
Yeah, first time I heard it,
years.
we did one on here a long time ago, right, Greg? What album was that?
Might have been definitely before me.
Way before you.
Remember now.
It was the yellow cover, and it's got the guys on the front.
Yeah, it was all the young dudes. Okay,
okay, that's that.
Yeah.
Lou,
Yeah,
if we weren't on here, it wasn't the classic lineup, so it doesn't matter what they
Yeah,
did.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, we are actually live now on freeworld.fm. And if you're listening to this on freeworld.fm, I usually go on at 9 o'clock. Well, now we are on at 8 o'clock. So now you can watch it on YouTube. You can watch us as we're doing this live, or you can
simulcast.
Yeah, or you can listen to us on freeworld.fm, and you can join us in the chat there. It's really cool. You can put GIFs and all that kind of stuff in there. And yeah, so thank you for joining us. We are now on at 8 p.m. every Wednesday on freeworld.fm and on YouTube as well.
It's also
and we have
please
for
don't
radio
peanut butter in the messenger.
No, don't put any peanut butter in the messenger.
And
will be available later for streaming services.
Yes.
And we are the kind of streaming service that we have faces for radio. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
ain't that the truth?
So who wants to get started with the first album? I don't have the track listed in front of me because I'm not at the house. So who wants to get started?
Let Greg go first, since this is his brainchild.
Yeah,
Greg, you get the album tracks pulled up in front of you?
Yeah, I got it on my phone here. Well, you know, Ex Offender, which was their first single off of it, and they even, I can't remember who they did sessions with in like '75 before they got noticed and then signed with Chrysalis. Anyway, I know it was all on private stock, but that kicks off the album, and that's a really good single. They originally wanted to call it Sex Offender, but the record label was like, no, that's not happening. It will never get on the radio with that title. I wrote something down about it too. Oh, you know, in a good example of Debbie Harry being good with songwriting. So who originally wrote it here?
I saw Chris Stein's name on most of the songs.
Yeah, it was Gary Valentine that wrote it, and
never mind.
The original lyrics were about an 18-year-old boy being arrested with a underage girlfriend, but she changed the lyrics to being about a prostitute falling in love with the cop that had busted her recently. That's pretty good. And you know, the way that song is set up, it's pretty good. It's like a 60s girl group, like I was saying, but a little bit tougher than that. You know, which is where I think the punk thing comes in, because they did the whole CBGB scene, and I don't know, they got an edge to them, you know, that probably the best expression of it is actually Parallel Lines, where they're all there in their black suits and fucking she's standing there with her hands defiantly on her hips like that and the white dress in the middle. Basically what they were.
Yeah,
but I like most of the songs on here. They got good hooks, good rhythm. Little Girl Lies, In the Flesh, In the Sun.
In the Flesh, great.
And Ripper to Shreds is great. It's quirky too. And I actually first heard that because I had only ever listened to the Greatest Hits album, and I think they also had Auto American and Parallel Lines. So I saw the Dream Master, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and had the soundtrack to that. I'm like, holy shit, this is Blondie. This is badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't in the movie, but it was on the release, the soundtrack stuff.
Yeah, it was on the soundtrack.
Right.
I thought it played at the very end of the end credits. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in years.
Nope, that was Sinead O'Connor's Lay Your Hands on Me. Why? I don't know.
I thought that was when the chick got killed in the Roach Motel.
Well, it's song played in the end credits too.
Oh, okay.
And no, it wasn't was the chick in the Roach Motel the one that was doing the weights?
Yeah, and somebody was definitely talking about Lay Your Hands on Me. I didn't know it was Sinead O'Connor because
it was Sinead O'Connor.
Information from my brain, fortunately, but thank you.
Who'd have thought Sinead was so kinky? Rest in peace, Sinead.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that whole that's actually a brilliant album, and it's not well, we'll get into it another day. We don't have to go track by track, but I do like the album a lot. But
wait, was Greg done?
He was not done.
Close enough.
But yeah, no, it's a great album, and it's really fucking nihilistic and tongue in cheek too. Just the only thing I can really say about it is, they were a little sloppy here, and I think actually love this first one. I'd give it 4 stars out of 5, but they're still a little bit sloppy. And then they improved on that and on Parallel Lines, the next one. And when we get to that, I'll make that comparison there. But you know, Mark Chapman, who produced that album, said, "Oh, they all hated each other. They were fighting all the time, except for Chris and Debbie. There's so much animosity because the second album, in between the two of these, just drops off completely." I mean, the hits are good, but even on here, even though there's some filler tracks and stuff like that, they're fun. They're peppy. It might be a little witless, but you can't tell me Attack of the Giant Ants isn't a hell of a lot of fun.
No, that's fun. It's ridiculous, but it's fun.
But they
Lou?
made a real powerful statement here with the neat different bending of different genres together, and I think it's a great album. I don't think enough people have heard or know about this one. The early singles kind of got forgotten in the later poppier stuff. Anyway, Lou, go ahead.
Okay, so for the first album, I actually kind of did a track by track. I didn't do it for the second one because when we get to that, I'll discuss it. But let's see. For the opening track, Ex Offender, catchy. Little Girl Lies, totally reminded me of Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love by Elvis. But I did like it. I just want to sing, "Oh, no, feel my temperature rise." I mean, it fits. It just fits.
That's funny because I got something for the first song. I mentioned.
Oh, I know you do. That's I'm waiting for you because I've thought about that as well.
Track 3 kind of reminded me of This Boy from the Beatles meets Beauty School Dropout from Greece. And I was like, wow, I didn't know Blondie was that eclectic. Because you don't hear that in the radio song. Again, first timer over here. Track 4 was one of my top 5 songs on the album. Track 5 I thought was very Ramones-esque, and I liked it a lot. Yeah. Track 6 was almost like a Primal Call Me. Like it had a similar feel to it. So far, not one bad song on the album. And I actually thought that this one was rather kind of epic. I definitely enjoyed it. Track 7, now we're entering more into familiar territory, and I think it's good. I really, as a guitarist, I really appreciated the use of feedback on the song, and I was again quite taken aback by the fact that I was listening to Blondie's debut album. And again, Ripper to Shreds. I remember this from the Nightmare on Elm Street 4 soundtrack, and I liked it. Track 9, I'm really digging the surf guitar elements on here. I feel like this element of Blondie gets so overlooked for their top 40 stuff. And what I really respected about it was the fact that I don't think that many songs from the 70s had modulations within it, like changing the notes and like the root notes of each measure. I think maybe Rush might have been the only band doing that at the time. So I got to give it to them, and I have to say that was my favorite song on the album. Track 10 is my second favorite song, and the final song, I called it a Hawaiian luau visited by the 7 from the boys, setting fire to everything, and it totally gets my approval.
The Attack of the Giant Ants.
Yes, sorry, I didn't have time to write the song titles down after a while.
Oh, I cheated. I went on Wiki and grabbed the track listing for the first album in here.
But some things that I noticed about it was the fact that I knew Blondie was a Chrysalis fan, but Chrysalis may have been one of the more prevalent labels of the 70s. They had Jethro Tull, they had Blondie, they had UFO, and in the 80s they'd really expand with having Billy Idol, Ice House, and Huey Lewis in the News, and
Armored Saint.
Yep.
Yeah, they
We don't
later on.
talk
You're
about
right.
that.
And
That was a bad part of their career, those poor guys.
Also, the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, who
Oh
also had
yeah,
a
yeah.
song on the Dream Master.
A lot of bands.
And I just think it's kind of funny that Chrysalis had such an eclectic roster of bands, and I guess for Blondie they did well. For UFO, maybe not so much, but you know, um, as a music fan, I appreciated the label for what they brought out, and it was cool in the '70s. People were more free form or more open minded to signing a different different genres to their label and promoting it. So this was definitely a moment in time where I think the quality was there, and the fact that the album is less than 35 minutes and the songwriting is top-notch quality. It's like you wish that songwriters today in the business would take notes on what it is to really write a good song, as opposed to 400 measures of the same note throughout the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, take notes. This is a really good debut album.
Manny.
do you want me to go?
Go
Okay.
ahead. I'll go last. I'll let
All
the
right.
bullshit get out of the way, then I'll tell the real story.
Oh, whatever,
Uh-oh.
The real story is that you're a musical pygmy, but we'll get back to that later.
That's an insult to pygmies.
All
Go.
right.
I should take a shot every time that word gets said. I sort of got. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manny.
You'd be like me at the long bar. All right. So this album was released in 1976, as you know. Private Stock, which is I'm pretty sure that label went under soon after these guys went to Chrysalis Records. Great debut. I'm looking who produced this thing. And okay, two guys I've never heard of. All right, forget those guys. But they did a good job. They did a really good job. Ex Offender, definitely a precursor to punk. And I have to agree with Greg. It is it's a girl group meets, I don't know. New Wave didn't even exist then. I don't know how to describe it.
Oh, here's something interesting, Manny.
Yeah.
Because hadn't really heard the name either, Richard Gother or whatever. I know I butchered that, but the band wanted him to work with him because he produced songs like "My Boyfriend's Back" with the Angels in the '60s.
Oh, that's who that guy is. Wow. So see, without us really knowing who he was, we were right. Well,
Yeah, and I also found it interesting. She said the intention wasn't to sound retro, but to shock with our sound, and I think they accomplished that because it sounds very modern here. It doesn't sound like a throwback. I mean, you get what
no,
the elements are from, but yeah.
I think it still sounds pretty damn good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it it doesn't sound dated at all, and probably doesn't sound dated because I'm looking at the songs here. I mean, Kung Fu Girls. There is no way in hell they're thinking hit single with that title. Uh, the Attack of the Giant Ants. Also, there's like a B movie like element to it. I don't mean B movie like lyrically, like they're having a lot of fun. Like they're not taking themselves that serious. I mean, you
Oh
have
no.
this woman, Deborah, Harry, that looks like a supermodel, and she's singing, the Attack of the Giant Ants or a shark in Jet's clothing. I mean, it's but it's the song that stood out to me are the three singles off here. In the Flesh is you're right. You go from Ex Offender to Little Girl Lies, and then you go into The Flesh, which has got this really, angelic chorus, and it sounds all romantic, even though in reality it is a romantic song. But basically, she wants to get naked with her boyfriend, in the
Yeah.
flesh. It wants to be in front of him in the flesh. But it sounds so sweet, and it's only like 2 minutes. It's amazing, and they couldn't afford any orchestration, but it's not. However, the arrangement and production on that is excellent. Rip Her to Shreds. I mean, this is probably why they got the punk rock label. The song about a groupie and she's gonna rip her to shreds, and um, It's not even like the groupie's going to steal her boyfriend. She just doesn't like her. So she just wants to beat the crap out of her. That's as punk rock as it gets. Rifle
Patty.
range. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Rifle range. I have no idea, but I suspect it's a throwaway song only because the co-songwriter is a guy named Ronnie Toast. And I got a feeling that's just a made up name, you know.
It's okay. It reminds me a little bit of Gang of Four, but yeah, that was one of the two I felt didn't really stand out too well here. That one and Man Overboard are a little,
Yeah,
they're
Man
not bad to
Overboard.
I
listen
liked
to,
Rifle
but-
Range.
Did you like Rifle Range?
I
Lou?
did. I did. I didn't think there was one bad song on the whole album. And I was just listening as a music fan, not as a critic. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
I agree. I just think it's probably one of the weaker tracks on the album. Man
I just
Overboard.
mention it to another point I'm going to make for Parallel Lines. I don't dislike either song.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's a solid debut. It definitely does not hint that this is going to be one of the biggest bands, at least for a very short while in the late 70s. There's no hint of that. Other than Deborah Harry's Beautiful, musically, it is so against the grain what's going on at that time. It is not heavy metal. It's not disco. And it definitely doesn't fit in with anything else that was going on in rock radio back then. The fact that this got picked up by a major label, this is in retrospect, is a minor miracle. How influential this album is, the ones that follow, is pretty amazing if you think of, again, the post-punk scene. So anyway, I give it 2 thumbs up. I think it's excellent. Go ahead, Wayne. Rip Deborah Harry to shreds, since that's what you want to do.
No, I don't want to rip Deborah
Yo,
Harry.
wanker.
She's done a lot over her
I see what
career,
you did
so-
there.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I wanted to like Blondie because they're so, they're iconic. They're an iconic band, and they're still around today. And I really wanted to get into this. And listening to that first song, Ex Offender, I was like, all right, great. This is a good start. Although it reminds me of the song Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. It's like
It does.
almost the exact chords.
You know what? They probably did that on purpose.
I don't know.
wouldn't
They were
Yeah.
released at the almost exact same time. They were like months apart from each other.
No, well,
Yeah, it was the same year. I think it was the same year,
no,
or maybe a
it
year
was
off.
the same year.
Born to Run
It
was
wasn't
75.
the same year. Born
Yeah,
to Run would have been
75.
August of 75.
So it's a year after.
Blondie would have been December of 76.
All right. So Blondie heard it and said, "Oh, that's good. I'm going to copy that."
Well, it's not. It's just a couple of chords during
It is.
one part
It
of
is.
the
It's only-
song,
it's in the
though. I mean,
beginning
you
of the
make
song,
it sound
so.
like it's the whole fucking thing.
No, it's not
Yeah,
the whole
I mean, if you're gonna give flack to Blondie for possibly ripping off Bruce Springsteen, then you should definitely give flack to Buck
Yeah.
Cherry for definitely ripping off Kisses
listen,
Shock Me.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to say this right now to make a
No.
point because somebody brought it up the other day and I was going to mention it to you guys because I re-listened to it and not only is it one of the worst written albums I've ever heard, but it's one of the worst sounding albums I've ever heard. So you can give crap about Blondie and say what you want, even though we know it's great, but I'll bet you have a fucking copy of Crocus's Change of Address over there.
I don't have
Yeah,
one.
no.
I don't have one Crocus album in my collection whatsoever.
No, that album. I do have that album, and it's, oh my God.
It's high
Is-
on the
is-
running
would
for
you
worst
prefer-
album of all time.
Do you prefer Cold Lake from Celtic Frost? I guess is a better question.
There are some good songs.
Oh, by far,
Okay.
far.
Big time.
They're both albums calculated to succeed, to go on. I don't even, we'll have to talk about Cold Lake one day.
That's
I
another.
don't
That's
know what
another day.
madness-
Sorry, Wayne. Back
Yeah,
to you.
Yeah, I don't know what madness inspired. I actually like the album, but it doesn't make any sense. They're trying to go for, be hits, what, glory, rock radio glory for
Oh, it
on a-
sounds so awful. We'll have to talk about it one day.
Crocus. Crocus. What's even worse is they do an Alice Cooper song on there.
Dude,
And they fuck
Crocus
it up.
is for another day.
Yeah,
Yeah, you made me heart sick there, Greg. All right. So go ahead, Wayne.
Jason Barker's in the Free World chat. He says he swears that one of the songs his neighbor wrote was ripped off and she never got any credit or money. It was nearly word for word.
What, from Blondie?
No, I guess just what song was it, Jason? Tell me in the chat in a minute. That could be your made-up co-writer's name. The chord progressions on Wagon Wheel is used in so many country songs, just a different strumming pattern. Yeah, there's so many bands, but like today, like everybody's like sue happy, so they sue over all this crap. So I'm kind of surprised that like Bruce Springsteen didn't say, "Oh, those are my guitar chords back then," because it's almost exactly the same.
He's probably a Blondie
He
fan.
probably is, but
That's probably
you can only make so many different guitar chords. Something's gonna sound the same at some point.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But
there is one difference. Like if you're in a band and someone brings a riff to the table, and you've heard that riff from somewhere, and you play it for them, and they say it sounds nothing like it, and it completely does. Like that happened to me once before. One of my older bands. This guy brought in a riff, and I'm like, that's the exact same riff from the band Simon Says, which is a shitty band to rip off if you're going to rip off any band. But, I said, I'm not playing this song with you guys. And they're like, well, then you're fired. I'm like, too bad. I quit. So
you get fired a lot. Jason,
I do. But I quit. I walked out on my own on that one. You can't get rid of me, Wayne. I'm a Tuma.
Well, if I ever bring a song to you guys, I guarantee you I ripped it off. Anyway, continue, Wayne.
But so anyway, after that song, I'm just like, oh my god, like what was the next song? Little Girl Lies. I mean, this song, this is like amateurish. What the hell happened?
Oh yeah, it's not amateur.
It is. It's childish and amateurish.
It's so well constructed.
Standards.
I mean, it's got a playful element to it.
No, sorry. And then it just continues to get worse throughout the whole entire album.
What? You don't like In the Flesh?
Nothing on this album is any good. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I think you guys need to have a hearing check. This is and like Manny mentioned, how did this album get them to be like signed on a record label? Like who heard this stuff?
How can you not hear the potential in the songs?
There is not.
I mean, those are great hooks. The drummer can't keep time very well. I'll give you that, but neither could Chris at first.
No.
Oh yeah, Mark Chapman really whipped them into shape on Parallel Lines. I mean, personally,
yes.
If they had kept making more garage rock type stuff like this, I'd have loved them anyway. But they would have stayed a cult band. He saw the potential and really put them to the front.
Yeah. But I just kept listening. I'm like, there's got to be another song in here that I like, and there's nothing for me.
Not even rip her to shreds, huh?
Nothing. I couldn't take it.
And didn't you say you liked the Tube song before?
No.
When we're okay, never mind.
The band Tubes. There's a song that I like. I can't remember.
White Punk's on Dope.
Maybe I don't know. I don't remember.
See, that's a little similar to their style. That's why I thought
it is, but maybe the lyrics are just make more sense. These are just like childish lyrics, like through the whole thing. Oh my god!
So is Ex Offender the only song you? Oh,
yeah, Ex Offender is the only one I like. Well,
okay.
So before you film an episode, do you take the bone out of between your nose, Wayne, so nobody?
Oh come on,
that's terrible. You're lucky we were on Freeway. We could say whatever we want on Freeway.
Hey!
But now we just got kicked off of YouTube.
Yum, eat them up. Sorry, couldn't help it.
What is Jason saying? Many sending us on.
Whoever was offended by that, don't come at me, bro. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, nobody's offended by it. But anyway, I just listening to it, I was so disappointed because I really wanted to like that album. Just because of who they are, and that's the debut album, and to see what they became after that. And I'm just like, And then I listened to the next album. And maybe it was like, what's the first song? Was it Dreaming or Dreams or something like that?
The first, I think you're fan mail, but the second, I think you're thinking of Denise.
But that's a cover song.
No,
it is a cover.
It's not Dana. Fan
mail. I'm thinking of the wrong album, but whatever. But even that album was kind of just like boring. And then I didn't.
Dreaming's on Eat to the Beat.
That's
79.
Right. Yeah. And then I was listening to the album, I get going through, and then I heard a different version of it's called Once I Had a Love, and what the hell is the original?
Oh, that's
Heart of Glass.
Heart of Glass. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not on the original album. You must have heard the.
No,
it's not. Okay, it's on a.
You have the 2001 remaster that also has some demo tracks on it.
Okay, see, it doesn't say that on here.
It's the iTunes version.
Yeah. But anyway.
Wayne, since you started talking about album number 2, continue.
I have nothing to say about that album either. It's terrible. It's garbage. Throw it away.
That's the quickest review Wayne's ever done. Okay.
I can't. I don't know what it is. And just
I
like
mean,
Stan says in
I-
the chat here, he's like he didn't know men listen to Blondie. And yeah, apparently you do. But
Well, real men do, yeah.
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 What are you afraid of your
Balls dropped a
feelings there,
long
buddy?
time ago, so yeah.
I'm sorry, it's not infinite spectrum, Stan. Anyway.
At least I got a hot
Love
chick
you,
on
Alex.
my poster, you know.
Yeah.
Bet
But
you
we-
like
we
Manowar
were-
there, don't you, Stan?
I don't think he does.
No.
But we weren't
All
talking.
right, let's not pick
I'm
on
just fucking with him. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Hey, all-
yeah,
all
doesn't
men-
care.
I don't care.
I don't
All
even think
men
he's
play
doing
on
it.
10 inches. What? Who said that? Anyway.
But we weren't supposed to be talking about the second album anyway, so you can just skip that one. Doesn't.
No,
No,
but
but-
it's actually the
I mean,
interesting.
you can tell the
about it.
progression from the first album. The second album's getting a little bit better, and the third album's okay. Finally, we got somebody to
See,
produce this album and get better now. But
I don't think the second one is better than the first one. I think it's more.
I'm gonna
chaotic
agree. I think the first
because
one is
Richard did not know how to deal with them in terms. No, I'm serious, and he
No,
said
that's
it too.
something in the
He
chat.
oh, what?
Blondie was predicting global warming. The tide is high.
Oh,
well, they didn't write that. But, they're ahead of their time. They're ahead of their time, Wayne. Oh,
but yeah, I mean, you can hear some of the more progressing radio type elements on it, but the songs are much more shittily written, I have to say. And I don't know if it's because it was how they wanted it, or maybe they were just so difficult to arrange it. The producer couldn't arrange it well, but that's like a classic example of the sophomore slump, which is interesting because that was a pretty common symptom of a lot of their influences in the 60s, Manny. I'm sure you'd agree.
yeah, I do agree.
Yeah.
It's also, I think it's a good album, but I think the first one's way better. I think the first one's got better songs. I think they picked better singles off the first album, and frankly, it's better produced. You know, the good news is that the drummer, oh God, what is his name?
Chris.
No, Clem
Burke.
Okay.
He's their secret weapon, and he's finally emerging as that on this album. Where the first one, he's not a bad drummer, but like you could tell they didn't have any money and they just left stuff and they shouldn't have left them.
Yeah.
There's but on here he's not a songwriter, but he definitely strengthens the songs. But I have to agree with album number 2. The standout tracks definitely are Denise and I'm Always Touched by Your Presence, Dear, which is kind of the same template as In the Flesh.
Mhm.
The quirkiness in this album doesn't work as well as the first one, like Youth Nab does a sniper, which is kind of ironic title nowadays. It's funny, but as a song, it falls apart. It's no mystery why they didn't, there's no mystery why most of these songs have not been performed in their set list probably since the album came out, other than the 2 singles. It's not bad, but it's not, you compare it to the first album, it's a disappointment. Of course, Wayne hates every single note on this album. But you know what? I don't, in all fairness to you, Wayne, it's not a great album. I like it. Actually, I like it a lot, but if I were to do a comparison or put my critic's hat on, I would say it's definitely not their strongest effort for sure.
Who's
I
giving
think it's
Manny the
rushed.
thumbs up?
I was about to ask you that question.
It's not me. Maybe Greg.
I thought Wayne was doing it to be a
Yeah,
wise ass.
kinda
Maybe it's
strange.
somebody in
There's
the chat.
There's a ghost in here.
But
Very strange.
the song I really like off the second one, which interestingly enough, I just found out by looking on Discogs, was chosen as the single in Japan over fan mail. But Kidnapper by Jimmy Destry, the synth and keyboard player. That's a really good song and kind of showed how he was progressing. But
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
good album, but misses the mark a little bit.
Yeah, a
Actually,
little.
same way I feel about Mata Hoople's Mad Shadows. It's just a little too messy, a little too all over the place.
I agree, but I still love that album. Just like I
Oh,
love
so
this
do I.
one. So
Me
just like,
too.
but I'm putting my critics hat on because Wayne accuses me of liking everything, and he's not totally wrong, by the way.
You do. You like
But
too much.
no, you just don't like enough. Like, what do you
No.
do? Eat at the same restaurant every day? Have sex in one position? Variety's the spice of life, Wayne.
There's more than one.
There's
Oh. No, there's like at least two or three, right, baby? Anyway, uh, I do. I don't. Lou, did you get a chance to listen to this album, the second one? I don't know what order you went through or what.
I did, but I was gonna let you finish first.
No, that's it. I mean, I like it, but I don't. I actually I do love the album, but compared to the first, it's not as great. It's not as memorable. That's the problem. I put it on, I enjoy it, but once it's off, I don't really. The songs don't stick to my head. They don't. I'm not thinking about them, and that doesn't mean it's a bad album, but it's definitely falls short of. When I listen to Blondie, a lot of their songs get stuck in my head whether I want them to or not. This album didn't do that for me, unfortunately. Good album, but definitely sophomore slump. Go, Mr. Lou, your turn.
Okay, so once again, I don't mind being the odd person out in this conversation. I thought Parallel Lines was an upgrade to the debut album. I loved.
Wait. Parallel Lines is the third one. We haven't gotten to that one. The
yeah, we
second,
were Lou listen or Wayne
yeah,
listened to
Lou,
all four of
yeah,
them.
Lou, did you
It
listen to
wasn't
Plastic
intentional.
Letters? No,
Pla-
no, it's fine. We're going to get
Plastic
to
what?
Parallel Lines. Plastic Letters, the second one. If you didn't listen
Wait,
to it, we'll move on.
hold on a minute. I
I think we just mentioned Blondie and
Yeah.
Parallel
Oh
Lines.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
Plastic
yeah, yeah.
Letters. I'm sorry. Did I say Parallel Lines? I'm sorry. I meant Plastic
Yeah.
Letters.
We were
No,
supposed to do Blondie and
All
Parallel
right.
Lines. So
no, I genuinely thought that this album was an upgrade from the first one, and I really liked the first one a lot.
Wow.
I didn't find there was a bad track on this. I actually thought the songs were better. I thought the production was better. I thought the playing was better. I thought Debbie's performance, especially on songs like Fan Mail and Denny's, were top notch. Um, and I'm willing to admit that because I guess I'm the newcomer to Blondie, that to someone that's listened to them as long as they have, which is much longer than me, probably hearing me say that, going, "What the fuck crack is this guy on?" So
No, no, I
I'm
think
willing to
it's
own
interesting.
that. Maybe as we go on through the discography, I may say, you know what, Parallel Lines sucked compared to this album, but if we're comparing the first two, I, to me, Parallel Lines just stuck out that much more. And maybe it's just me because I've always been more of an album cuts guy than a radio single guy. There, there really aren't any radio hits off this album, and I think that's what made me like it that much more because it's sort of like a diamond in the rough of the Blondie discography. So I'm willing to give this album all the praise that I'm giving it and say that of the first two, it's the one I prefer the most.
Do you think that Deborah Harry lyrically is a little more quirky and lets that fly more than the first one, in your opinion, Lou? I'm interested because this is the first time you're listening to it. That's why.
Do I think Debbie Harry did what?
Do you think her lyrics? I do agree that her performance is stronger than the vocally because she toured and she's learning how to use her voice. But do you think lyrically it's a lot more quirkier than the first one? I'm on the E and Kidnapper, Detroit 442, and
I, I
Cautious Lip.
I think it's quirky enough to be able to pass for permissible pop songs. I think here she's definitely finding that balance between eccentricity and acceptance. And I think that's the mark of a good songwriter, where you could still kind of be true to yourself, but also say, "Hey, I'm in the music business. I got to make money, so let me do this." And I think it works.
All right, cool.
And that's
And
not
Wayne,
taking anything away from the first album because that worked well too. It's just it's like if you ask me about Severed Angel, do I think Skyward is a better album than our debut album? And to me, I would say yes, only because to me there was an actual growth there. In terms of like songwriting skills and in terms of, performance. You a musician should only get better, not get worse, in my opinion.
yeah, Wayne, are you taking notes on that?
No.
Okay,
This is why I write the songs,
so,
Manny, not him.
all right, good man. So, Wayne, before we move on to the next one, and unless Greg had anything to add about Plastic Letters.
No, I like it. It's a good album. I would just give it if the first one is 4.5, Plastic Letters would be 3.5. Definitely shows progression, but I don't
And
all the tunes are. And
so, Wayne, did you find any?
Annie, you keep talking over everybody. What's going on with you?
Sorry about it.
What were you saying, Manny?
No, Greg was talking. Is he frozen?
No, I'm not frozen. No, I was just saying you could. It's still a good record. You can definitely hear progression. With just Debbie too. She not just completely snotty the whole time on this one. She does her mood swings very well.
I like that. Wayne, was there anything you found redeeming? I know this is not your type of music, but you know music despite me picking
I like
on you
it.
all
I
the
like this
time.
type of music. There's things on here that I do like, and there's like they have that surfing guitar sound element thing going on in a lot of their songs too. So I do like a lot of that. But I just can't find like music that nothing on those first two albums made me want to come back and listen to the rest of the album besides the songs that I mentioned. There was nothing else like I gotta hear that again.
Wayne, I have a question. So, like,
not taking any questions. Sorry.
Take it easy. I guess with the some of the other bands that came out in the wake of Blondie, like the B-52s or the Go-Go's, like, is that something you prefer more?
No, I'm not a huge fan of the B-52s. Go-Go's, no.
Nope. Love the Go-Go's.
Again, that's another band that's like their songs are on the radio. I like a couple of songs that are on the radio. That's about it as far as I go with them. B-52s, Rock Lobster's cool.
That's the one song I'm sick of.
I only said that because I know Greg hated it, but I like Love Shack.
Oh, I
do have a B-52s CD, but I haven't put it on. I haven't listened to it. I got it in a mix of other bunch of CDs that I got, and I just kept it.
I was telling in our chat that I was a fan of the Ricky Wilson era, like because I love his surf guitar playing.
Even with him, that music could piss off the dead. If anything would cause a zombie apocalypse, it'd be somebody putting the fucking B-52s on a loudspeaker somewhere.
Yeah, it's just another band.
Fair enough.
At least with the Go-Go's, they had catchy choruses and the music was catchy. Everything was just kind of catchy with them.
Everything about them was catchy. Yeah. Backstage, you could have caught chlamydia, but I digress.
Wayne's probably secretly a fan. He's gonna come to with, "Hey, I want to do this cover of this song," and Lou's gonna be like, "That's a B-52s tune," and Wayne's gonna be like, "No, it's not. The title's completely different. It's called Fuck Shed."
Actually, George, our bassist, has requested Love Shack before.
Jason,
I remember telling him,
sorry, if you do, you have to call it Fuck Shack.
Maybe then I'll do it. But I said I'd rather do Rick Astley. He's never going to give you up than Love Shack. But
I would do that in a heartbeat. Jason Barker said Rock Lobster is on repeat in hell.
Yes. Well, maybe not repeat. They probably take a break somewhere in the middle with Lady by Styx, but
yeah.
I like Lady.
Oh, I hate that song.
Do you prefer Babe?
He has to think
Babe's
about more tolerable, but
I don't
I
know.
don't
Lose.
know. On tunes like that where they're more like ballads, I really don't like how he sings them. I prefer Tommy Shaw anyway.
I like that song. It's a pretty good song.
But
All right.
Would you
Lady
rather
is
get
just
kicked in the
something
balls or get hit?
about Lady, not just with his vocals, but right down to the melody itself, just sounds irritating. Obviously,
You
a
know,
majority of people didn't feel that way, but yeah, it's a very, very annoying song.
I'm sure
yeah,
that
it's
started
fun.
a big baby boom when it came out.
I'd rather
Ugh.
listen to Milli Vanilli's album.
I would too, for fuck's sake.
I
Jesus.
I think my mom
Yeah.
just thought of Tom Jones.
It's not unusual.
It wasn't.
What's new,
Anyways,
cat? Whoa, 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 whoa. Anyway,
Anyway, parallel
I think,
lines.
all right, but final album, we're going to talk about Parallel Line.
Okay.
God, Wayne, control your
What the hell
gas.
was that, Wayne?
It was-
Are you
Yeah,
on like a
Wayne.
fucking bracelet
That-
or something?
that was
Do you have
Wayne's-
to blow into a breathalyzer?
that was Wayne's
Hell?
McLaughlin his McLaughlin group buzzer. Wrong.
Every time Manny comes on this show, I get
Why you get a boner every time Manny comes on? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Well, that's not unusual. Anyway, that's not unusual. See, we're Tom Jones. We need to do an episode on Tom Jones.
Oh, I love Tom Jones. My grandparents were real into him. That'd be fun.
all right.
Well,
Blondie
final
parallel
number
lines.
to
Let's
talk
go.
about. Who wants to start?
Okay, go ahead, Wayne. Why don't you start?
This
Yeah,
album's
Wayne,
terrible.
start.
Oh my god, how could they make such a travesty? This is
We're
garbage.
not talking about Adrenalize. Let's get to your real review.
Shut your mouth.
Hey, half that album was good.
All right.
No, it
It
isn't.
half the
got
album
White
was
Lightning on
not
it. All right, this album actually did start off better, and the production's better. The songs are more organized, more put together. This actually sounds like an album that's like actually well thought of. The other ones, I figured it sounds like they just like threw songs together. You know, I'm sure they did because those songs were probably being played live or whatever. So this one seems like it was all put together nicely and done professionally, and they sound like a real band at this point. And Hang On Telephone, so many people cover that song. It's a pretty good song. One way or another, that's always on the radio, and I'm kind of sick of hearing that song, but you know, it's a good song. It's a big hit of theirs. And then what else is on this album? But Heart of Glass is on here, so that, you know, that's a good song too. Everybody loves that song. But you know, there's other songs in between that I was hoping to maybe find some other song that I never heard of before, and I just didn't. I just did not find any other songs that I liked, unfortunately. But I do say this album is a lot better than the first two. Like I said, it's more organized, it's more put together, it's more focused. That's the word I'm looking for. Focused. It's a focused album, finally. So.
All right, fair enough. You're wrong, but fair enough.
It's not.
No,
It's not focused.
No, it is focused.
No, I just can't believe you can find anything on here that, especially since you're a drummer. What about the drumming on the album, Wayne?
It's not. It's nothing mind blowing.
On Ingo.
No.
It's not. It's no Dave Lombardo.
No, it's not. But it's a huge. It's a huge improvement.
It is. It is from the first two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's the driving engine of those songs. That drummer.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, I mean he's good, but there was nothing that's like that I haven't heard before. Stop giving Manny the thumbs up.
It's not fucking jazz, Wayne. It's not fucking jazz.
No, I know it's not. That's why I said this. It's just nothing like
Wayne doesn't like jazz either.
Especially coming from somebody that listens to like 80 power metal bands that all sound the same. Yeah, how many of them drummers stand out?
Not a lot of them, and I'm
zero.
No, and I'm going to agree with you. I don't listen to bands for their drummers. I listen for the guitar players and for the vocalists. So I don't give a shit what the drummer's doing. You know, I really couldn't care. I'd rather hear the guitar player and the vocalist.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm just interested.
No, I always thought you were in the good rhythms too. That's why.
No,
big reason why I mentioned it. Okay.
Well, I'm kind of surprised because I'm not trying to. God, I can't believe I'm going to say something nice to Wayne. I think you're a phenomenal drummer, and so I'm really surprised that you're not listening more for the especially a band like this that's totally driven by that rhythm section more than the guitar player. And It's the rhythm section and the vocalist really drives the sound of this band, in my opinion. But so I was kind of just surprised being that you're a drummer and you're a great drummer, and I figured that's what you were for a
I'm a
band
what?
like
Say
this.
it one more time. I'm what?
A great drummer,
Thank
and
you.
this is
Thank
the
you
last
very
time
much.
I say it.
Thank,
So,
thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay.
I mean, I think that with the thing with drummers is that, like, like I love the Sex Pistols. So I think Paul Cook is a standout drummer. No, but what he does works for the Sex Pistols songs. You know, I think that with a lot of drummers out there, who are the ones that stick out? Guys like Neil Peart, guys like Danny Carey. Um, you know, I think drummers stick out more from a jazz setting because they have that room for experimentation. When we're doing pop or rock music, there's probably one drummer that stuck out from all of them, and as much as I love Phil Collins, I wouldn't mention him because he has a background in progressive and jazz. I would say Jeff Porcaro of Toto, considering the fact that he's played on 3,500 records, before his passing. So, that should be a drummer that I think any person who wants to pursue drums should aspire to be like, because he plays for the song. That's the thing. The drummer has to play for the song. So that,
well, he was a musician too,
yeah.
So for sure. Yeah. Well, Lou, since you're speaking, your thoughts.
I like this album. This is definitely where Blondie becomes Blondie. Like you really hear it, with their cover of Hanging on the Telephone, and of course, Heart of Glass. I mean, that song blew them up like, you wouldn't imagine. Um, I thought it was a good album, and I can understand why a lot of people go to this album, because it does have that those pop sensibilities, and I'm not knocking them. I think I just preferred the previous one a little more. Um, I don't know. I'm weird like that. I mean, I'm not. I don't go against convention for the sake of going against convention, and I don't have any biases towards it. It's just I thought that their second album, Plastic Letters, just spoke to me more. But I'm not knocking Parallel Lines at all. I think it's a great album, and I would. It's an album where if people ask me, like, what album should I listen to if I want to get into Blondie, I would say Parallel Lines. I would only recommend Plastic Letters if they really want to get into like deeper cuts. And as I mentioned, I'm a deep cut guy more so than a single guy. So, it's a good album. I would say in the echelon of Blondie albums, probably the most important, and the one that I would recommend to people the most to say it. I mean, I think it's a really good record. I just preferred Parallel Plastic Letters.
Wow, that's interesting. So was it since you're new to the I believe this is the first time you heard the record, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, did was it? Do you feel there was too many singles, or just overall you prefer the first two over this one?
I think if you ask me what my favorite cult album is, I would say it would be Electric.
Okay.
Over Love or Sonic Temple. And again, it's just because I just think that the skill set and the songs just spoke to me more, even the production. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it did. It did. All right. Should we move it to Greg, or you have anything else, sir?
No, I'm good. Please, Greg.
Greg, you're up.
Hang on 1 minute. You can go, Manny.
Don't leave us hanging on the Zoom phone.
All right. Don't leave us.
Wait a minute.
All right.
We're good. We're good. Okay.
Okay, you go. All right, go for it.
Yeah. So if I was going to say to someone, hey, what should you start with on Blondie? Or if I was going to make a list, and the Blondie album you should definitely own, if you don't own anything else, it would definitely be Parallel Lines, because this is where everything comes together. I mean, me personally, the first one's always going to be my favorite because it's got that little bit more sardonic, nihilistic edge to it than this does. But where they were moving into writing better pop songs on the second album, but weren't quite there yet. Everything comes full circle here. Chrysalis hooks them up with Mark Chapman. Mark Chapman doesn't take their shit and puts them through a music theory school, much like Ezrin did with Kiss. Helps them turn the songs into being better songs. And then, I mean, one way or another, yeah, okay, we've heard it a lot, but it's a great song, very powerful, comes out there. Same thing with the cover of Hanging on the Telephone. Very, very good cover, very great pick for that. And then, especially when you consider the album cover with it, the way she's standing there defiantly, you better not leave her hanging on the telephone. It's very, very catching and brings you into it that way. And then Picture This is another great one, but you also still get them messing around with genres a bit here too, even though it's more of a radio album. Like Fade Away and Radiate's a great song, kind of in the middle, and Robert Fripp from King Crimson also plays on that. And then 11:59, which honestly is probably my favorite song on the album. There's another deep cut written by Jimmy Destry again that's just got great guitar to it and everything. And then one thing I know you guys go, "Ooh, vinyl guy, aren't you special?" Blah blah blah. But
So you got the Japanese version.
All the CD presses of this album do not contain the original version of Heart of Glass, which you can get on one of the more recent remasters as a bonus track. But in the track order, it's the single version, which the single version is great. I definitely understand why they did it and replaced it with it, because it became a radio hit, and Chapman was right. It needed to be finished off. And I would.
What was the difference?
Four on the floor beat. The original Heart of Glass, I mean, it still has that four on the floor beat. It's just not, it's a little bit longer. It's not as poppy. It's a little more similar to their sound on Plastic Letters and the first album.
Understood.
Yeah, it's not as cleaned up. I mean, I think what they did ultimately made it more powerful to make it so popular to let it shoot into the air like that. I don't think the original version would have. So I understand why they did it from a sales perspective. But when you grow up listening to it on vinyl like that, and then you get the CD, it's like, what the hell is going on here? So that always irritated me a little bit. But great song either way. And Just Go Away is another one I like a lot too. So overall, great album. And hang on one second here, because there was a bonus track on the 2001 edition that I was listening to that was really cool. Oh, they cover live cover of Bang a Gong by Mark Bolan. That's
Killer.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So,
but that's like, this is kind of Blondie's Jeep in that respect. It's the album you want to get from them, or Bowie's Ziggy Stardust.
cool.
That's where
Anything
everything
else?
finally came together for them and rocketed them to stardom. I think it's one of the best albums ever done. The production on it is great. Totally highlights the uniqueness of everything, and it's a classic.
Yeah, lots of international stardom, not just the United States, but internationally. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, no. You know what's funny about that too? So Chrysalis gave them 6 months to record it. They finished it in 6 weeks, and when Chapman turned it in, they were like, "Oh no, you got to re-record this," and he was like, "Oh no, the fuck, we're not. Trust me, they're all going to be big singles. Get this out there."
Here's my question. Did Blondie stay like a CB side band throughout their entire career? Like, were they ever like an arena band or international touring band?
Yeah, with this
Oh, yeah.
album. Yeah. They toured Europe, especially United Kingdom during with the first two albums. They were a really big touring act, but they were a touring act like they were never asked to open for the Stones or anything like that. They were treated like a punk band before punk existed. They would play these city clubs, or they'd open for other bands that were considered quirky or left of center. And then with this album, they played big places. They didn't, not maybe Wembley, but definitely played Madison Square Garden and places like that internationally. They're huge in Japan, not surprising because of Deborah Harry mostly.
They were huge in Australia too.
Yeah, they were huge
From the
internationally.
beginning, actually. I think Australia might have been the only place where they actually headlined outside of a small club before Parallel Lines came out.
Yeah, that's true on that. That is very much true. But yeah, after Parallel Lines, they played nothing but arenas internationally. Um, and so yeah, it didn't last long. Not because by 1982, the Hunter album, which is a good album, but their worst album, they were burnt out from touring. They were burnt out from. They had some business issues. The usual record label shenanigans that happen to these guys.
I
Chris Stein got sick too after that, and um, even though Deborah Harry and Chris Stein were on their way to becoming millionaires, and they might be now, his illness definitely took the wind out of the sails because, musicians don't have health care insurance. And that fortune that they had, and believe me, neither one of them are crying a river, went out the door. And that might have been when Deborah Harry started doing movies, but I think she was interested in that anyway. I'm not totally sure
She
on that.
was interested in that anyway. I think the first one she did was actually around this era in time, or it might have been the next album, 79 E to the Beat, but that's actually another one where I feel a record company kind of screwed stuff up for people because I mean Call Me was huge and Eat to the Beat did okay. It's not really a bad album, but they demanded they make it sound super similar, almost exactly like Parallel Lines. And
Yeah. And
not that
Parallel
not
Lines
that
is,
they're hmm?
no, go ahead.
I mean, not that they're like a King Crimson or a Rush type band like that, but they had grown with each album up to that point, and I think it was a bad idea to stifle them like that because then look at what you got on Auto American with Rapture and the different reggae elements they were bringing into it, which the Police also did, but that's a conversation for another day.
No, but that is the excellent point on that. I mean, you're right. That'd be for down the road, but you're right. Auto America is a good album, but the elements they would, yep, you're right. I can't argue with that.
Because Eat to the Beat is good, but you can tell, and they've even said you can tell Chrysalis got in there and said, "No, we need directly to sound exactly the same as this, where it's good, but it's like, okay, these filler
Oh,
songs."
look at the song Atomic. It's a good song, but
Yeah,
it sounds like they're trying to write a disco song, sort of.
What
Um,
is it possible that Chrysalis was using Blondie as a way to like garner more revenue so that way they could siphon bands that were kind of like on their way out at the time, like Tull and UFO?
probably.
Hmm.
Probably, but Jethro Tull and it sold very well, even during their down period. They still had gold albums. UFO sold well everywhere except the United States. So that's,
Yeah, and the thing is that they had their opportunity with Strangers in the Night. It almost went gold, but then Schenker quit in the right after the album, right before the album was released. And then, that's when they toured the States with Chapman, and everyone's like, who the hell is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you thought they'd get the win in their sales when they opened up for Ozzy on the Wild the Willing and the Innocents tour for the Diary of a Madman tour, but Def Leppard definitely did
Yeah.
better with that than UFO did. So,
Well, and then the other thing about that too is, a lot of people, especially just in the general populace, they don't really remember UFO so much as they remember Michael Schenker, and that's when MSG was really taken off. Even in '79, Armed and Ready, the single came out, and then the first album. I don't think that helped too much,
probably
probably
not.
not.
But
Probably
yeah,
folk.
at least in America. I
I could
mean,
see, I could see Chrysalis looking at Blondie as a cash cow. So,
Well,
oh,
think
certainly.
about those first two albums because once this thing hit, as those first two albums started selling. And those albums are made pretty damn cheap. So those two albums were nothing but profit after this one came out. This one was a little more expensive, but even that, it took what, 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's about
And
6
When they
months.
had allotted it for 6 months, so they didn't use that much of the budget. I think maybe the most expensive part might have been bringing Mike Chapman from Australia to New York.
yeah, and they hired that and everything about this album is iconic. I mean, the album cover, as you point out, is iconic. It's so iconic that retro figures or whatever that is that makes those little action figures. That's what they used for the Deborah Harry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, um, they had a Barbie doll type doll they sold, and rocks and statues of that. That's the image they use is always that album cover. Um, the album was huge. One way or another, we're all sick of it, but can't deny it. Of course, Heart of Glass just blew them up. Sunday Girl, another one of those classic songs. As a matter of fact, every song is classic on here, and they still, like Greg point out, they still kept their quirkiness. Fade Away and Radiate is definitely quirky. I know, but I don't know. Written by, I think that's the bass player who wrote that. No other major band would put a song like that back then on their album. But,
They were
you
smart.
know, yeah.
Wayne.
Way.
I mean, even a cover like Hanging on the Telephone, like, they didn't write that, but the way that they performed it, it's like you thought they wrote it. Like that song was
Well,
meant for Blondie.
even the
Oh,
Buddy Holly
Deborah Harry.
cover, I'm gonna love you too. You would never know that was a Buddy Holly song unless you were into it.
I didn't know it was a Buddy Holly song till I bought a Buddy Holly's greatest hits or something.
Oh,
So,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love Buddy Holly.
I
I
I
did too.
I have to credit DC Animation for bringing Hanging on the Telephone back into my collective conscious again, because although Def Leppard covered it on the Yeah album, which was one of the better covers on that song, the animated film Batman and Harley Quinn, where Harley Quinn sings it in a karaoke bar, brought it back to me. And that was actually Melissa Rauch from Big Bang Theory who voiced Harley Quinn and sang the song. And I was like, oh, she's pretty good. Like it wasn't, it wasn't the Blondie track that they put in the film. Like they actually recorded it with Melissa on vocals, and it just reminded me how much I love that song. It's
Oh, it's
it's
a
it's
great
a
song.
great written pop song.
Well,
Oh,
picture this. I mean, it's a love song sort of, but picture this. We'd be out in the skids if it wasn't for your job at the garage. They're still talking about,
those are the mood swings. She sounds sweet,
yeah,
but she
but
cuts you like a fucking razor.
no, yeah, she'll fuck you up if you try to mess. Yeah, and yeah, it's great stuff, but one way or another, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Yeah, it's just great stuff. Even
Very
Heart of
quirky.
Glass. Yeah, even Heart of Glass, which has got this disco beat, and you listen to her, and, and then she subtly mentions how, once I loved to blah, 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 but it turned out he was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking great
She
stuff.
was she was Edge
Yeah.
before Edge was
Uh,
cool.
it just, yeah, and I think that's naturally who she is. She is
Oh, totally.
now, she's born 1946, so she's 78. Um, and she still has that at her age. She still performs like that. Does she look like she did back then? Sadly for me, no, but still beautiful to me and still great. Still has
Wouldn't
an
stop you.
attitude. No, would
Wouldn't
never
stop
stop me.
me.
Yeah, are you kidding?
I'm married, so you guys go ahead.
I mean, hell, even though because I was actually going to point out, it's, unfortunately in the mid to later 80s when they broke up, I could never believe Debbie Harry wasn't more popular than Madonna. Such a big difference there. But as far as she would go, I figure the price of my dignity would be about $3 million a year, and I could probably do that.
It always takes an original to spawn a shit ton of clones.
I always
True.
felt that maybe musically, definitely not, but I definitely think Deborah Harry was an influence on Madonna. The difference is Deborah Harry.
Has
Yeah, it's
integrity.
she says it's yeah, and Deborah Harry also claims it's sort of a character. I kind of believe that and don't believe that, but I think it's part of who she is.
Mhm.
I think every performer uh, creates a sort of character that a lot of them have a life. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's authentic to who she is, and great band, and I it's just great that they're respected, and they should be more respected. And by the way, I was looking at Wikipedia. They're listed as post-punk, punk, new wave, punk rock, power pop. So those guys, you know,
Avant-garde
pop
pop.
rock.
That's
So these
interesting.
even disco, dude, even disco. So
Pop music would
like
just be fine.
like you and Lou, not, yeah, I agree.
Now,
But unlike Wayne, you two pointed out the diversity of this band's music. Go ahead, Wayne.
yeah, it did. Are there albums that you guys like that are after these albums?
I think that the
Um,
first three are the cream of the crop, personally,
And
Wayne.
then after that, it
yeah,
kind of just falls off.
I like Auto American a lot, but starting with the next one, Eat to the Beat, is where I don't find value in like every song on the album. Some of them are just filler tracks that feel like they're to fill time. And even though Mike Chapman still produces a couple more of them and they still sound good, like I even like The Hunter, even though that's probably their worst album. At least out of the ones I heard. I haven't heard all the reunion ones. But
The reunion ones are all good, but
yeah.
as far as innovative and groundbreaking stuff, that'd be the first three.
Yeah.
Auto America is excellent, but it doesn't have the newness. Or this, I think though, what I admire about that album, where Atomic, what's the one before that? Is that Atomic? No,
Eat
Eat
to
to the
the
Beat.
Beat
Sorry.
was
Yeah,
Dreaming.
I
Yeah.
think Eat to the Beat is a little more calculated. I think they're trying to repeat parallel lines and not as successful. They're so talented that they sort of pull it off, but it's not a natural progression. Where with Auto America, they're like, screw this, we're going to do what we want. And it paid off because that album sold better than the previous one. The
The
Hunter
Tide is
is a good
High.
album.
That's sorry.
That's it. That's the
That's
hit
the other
single.
single from Auto American.
Yeah. And again, that's not we hear it all the time. So we think like it's an obvious single, but at that time, that was not an obvious single.
No.
And I think they're all worth picking up, Wayne. But Wayne, if you don't like the first three that much, the next the rest of the discography isn't going to do much for you. Maybe a greatest hits would do well for you, but
Let's not go that far.
Yeah, if
yeah,
you didn't like these, I really don't
No.
think Auto American would be for you because they kind of stagnate at the behest of the record company on Eat to the Beat and try to repeat this one on that, which you got a couple filler songs, but then they really start to experiment again on Auto American.
yeah, and it paid off because that's the one's got Rapture. I still like the song Rapture. I think it's a little dated for obvious reasons, but
Yeah, I like it though.
I,
It's
I
an
like it too.
important song too.
Yeah, but like on that album, they're like, screw you guys, we're gonna do whatever the hell we want. Which
Now,
really was a gamble. And The Tide is High is a perfect example. Rapture is a perfect example of that. Actually, every song on there is all over the place. If you look it up on Wikipedia, they call it art rock. That's how all over the place that album is.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the Hunter. Honestly, I prefer her first solo album, Cuckoo, over. The Hunter feels like a compromise to end a record company contract, which is
Yeah,
pretty
it
much
basically
exactly
is.
what it was.
Yeah, yeah. Um, they don't even sound like they're having fun on that album. I mean, the song War Child, it's the first album where the lyrics are like basically, you know,
It sounds
fuck
so
everybody.
labored. Like
Yeah, yeah.
in the songwriting, it sounds like, okay, let's finish this because we have to. There's not very much organic about it, although there are some good songs.
Well, what's funny is that I'm looking at the Hunter, And apparently the James Bond people told him to write For Your Eyes Only, and they got rejected. So of course
Oh
Blondie,
yeah, that's right. I
yeah.
forgot about
So
that.
Blondie said, "Well, fuck you. We're gonna record it anyway." So you know, but um, yeah, Wayne. Overall, I think maybe a greatest hits package, but if you didn't like the first three album, the next three aren't going to change your mind one iota.
No, I didn't like the fourth one either. So not gonna get any Blondie albums in my collection anytime soon.
At least he's objective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're done with the Blondie talk, right?
Yes, we're done.
It's almost 10 o'clock, so we're almost done with free.
Okay.
And this has been a long show. But anyway, I saw news earlier today that Brian May from Queen had a stroke last week, like a mini minor stroke, and he couldn't use his left arm.
Yeah, I read that.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
That's
I did
a
not
shame.
Yeah, he's okay now. Everything's okay. It was just like a minor little thing, but
I mean, he's pushing 80, I think.
yeah.
He's born 1947.
I say he's 77 then.
Yeah, so he's getting up
Yeah,
there.
he's a year younger than
Did Cole? I hear Cole behind
Wow.
you. Did he know about that?
I'm sure he did, but I'll tell him when we get out of here. Actually, I
don't
gotta
tell him
get
now,
out of
'cause
here.
he'll get upset.
Gentlemen.
He'll start crying or
Oh
something.
yeah, it is 8:30. Shit.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I gotta go. I didn't mean to drag it out so long. Thank you guys.
It's
It's always a
fine.
pleasure. It's a pleasure hanging with you guys, even you, Wayne.
Yeah, well, you're fired.
Great to have you back, Manny.
Well, I love Wayne. It's just, I don't understand them. But anyway, you guys have a good one, man.
You too, man.
Manny. Rock on.
See you
bye.
later, Manny. Anybody get anything this week or last week since the last time we've done a show? And get any new albums or anything?
The last thing that I got was the Black Sabbath Anno Domine box set.
Oh, I got that too. Yeah, pretty cool.
I got that. I'd have to go grab a whole stack. I'll just keep it in mind for next time.
Yeah, I have been looking for the Def Leppard earlier. What's that?
The early years box set. Is that what you were gonna say?
Yes, and I'm annoyed as fuck because the cheapest I found it on CD was like $100-something on Discogs. Amazon has one copy for $550. It's ridiculous.
What is that for?
The early years Def Leppard box set.
Damn.
I mean, it's available on
can't-
iTunes, so I could stream it, but I would like to own a physical copy of that album because of that box set, just because, like, it's the era of Def Leppard I cherish the most. That and Pyromania.
The price on Amazon is not real. They do that purposely to try to drive the prices up, and if some sucker finally buys it, then it's going to make people think it's worth $500. But go check on Discogs.
I did. It was like 100-something, and I think the cheapest I found it from was China.
I'll ask
No,
a
that's
couple
fake.
people I know in the UK that have shops because I haven't even seen it raffled for that much, honestly, and that's always usually more expensive than the selling prices.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Greg. I'd appreciate that. By the way, guys, I have a shit ton of t-shirts that I'm looking to part ways with. So, I'm not sure how to go about it. I don't, I was thinking about putting them up on Facebook Marketplace, but Wayne, you've told me so many issues that you've been dealing with on Facebook Marketplace that I've kind of crossed that idea out. And even when I tried putting stuff up on eBay or even an instrument on Reverb, you get these weird messages requesting, "Hey, can I get your bank account?" So it's like, no, it's like, I'm not doing that.
Well, I put mine on Facebook, and I said
I was going to say, shoot me a message. I'll talk to you about a couple of the private groups I'm in because I think some of them do merchandise like that, not for raffles, but for direct sales. But I got to go because,
Always good to see you, Greg. Thanks. I'll message you directly.
Yep. That was a fun one, guys. Thanks for doing it, Wayne, even though I know you weren't particularly thrilled about it. But, since we were talking about the Megadeth discography coming up soon, I finally got an original 94 Blue Euthanasia.
Wow. I wish you were euthanized. All right, see you later.
Shut up.
Yay, Euthanasia.
I hate that album, but I don't hate it, but like when it first came out, I was like, this is garbage. It's grown on me, But
Oh, dude, Reckoning Day is
it's
such
not.
a killer opening
It is. It
track.
is. No, it
Train of
is.
Consequences when it, yeah, hang on
It
one
is.
second. Train of Consequences when that was first on Letterman, that was amazing.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. There were some songs on there I like, but like I said, at first, no, I hated it, but it grew on me after a while. But
I definitely prefer that
we'll get
version
to
of it
it.
to Lamont.
We'll get to it.
Oh yeah, damn French. Anyway,
You cheese eating surrender monkeys.
that's right. Hey, hey! Be sure to buy your crusty brain crowd control crash barriers.
Later, Greg.
He's too funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got like what 20 minutes left, so I'm just gonna
Cool.
keep going.
I guess I'm not genuinely surprised you didn't like Blondie. I just didn't know you were gonna like set fire to it and like walk away from
Yeah, no, I like I said, I really, really wanted to like them just because of who they were, and especially
Yeah.
Debbie Harry, she's very popular, and I couldn't do it. I don't know.
It's funny. I don't think I've ever encountered a band that I was exposed to later on where I didn't think the quality was there. I mean, there are a lot of musicians I grew up loving where it's like if you asked me if I wanted to go see them in concert now or listen to them now, I would say no. Ace Frehley probably being one of them.
Oh yeah.
Like have you seen his recent live footage? It's atrocious.
Yeah, he's completely out of his mind.
I mean,
I don't even think he's there anymore. He's just
he claims to be sober.
There's no way.
But I mean, I play sober and I play drunk.
Yeah.
I play better drunk than he does sober.
Maybe he's on some kind of medication that's maybe he's not drunk and it's medication that's fucking. I don't know. I saw him get out of the car. He couldn't get out by himself. Somebody was helping him.
I mean, like he's the reason why I'm glad I don't go out of my way to meet my heroes because I've heard nothing but horror stories.
Do not. Yes, exactly. Don't
unless you're Ralph Vieira, which God bless you, Ralph. I'm glad you've never had a bad experience meeting Ace or Ingve, but I wouldn't and I couldn't.
The guy that I bought the Kiss box set from that had it signed from Gene and Paul. He had a thing to go meet Ace Frehley. Ace was 2 hours late, and then when he finally showed up, he didn't just like, oh, I'm sorry, and we started signing autographs. He still made these people wait even longer.
That's the problem that I think I have with, people in the music industry that meant something to, people growing up. It's a sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
And not to put over. No, I'm going to put over our band, Severed Angel, because, everyone asks me, why don't you do the stuff that other bands do? And I'm just like, because we're having a good time writing and recording and releasing it. We think that they're entertaining alone on themselves. And, we're not technically part of the music business. We're fans who got together to write and record and release songs that we wanted to always write, that we love writing. And I think it's kept us humble. And that seems to be something that musicians that are in the industry forget or fail to hold on to is that humility, because look how many guys made it and then after their 15 minutes were up, what happened to them?
Well, that'll never happen to us.
No, because we're 5 working schmucks with families. So,
it's all that matters.
That
man.
killer material.
Yep. I can't wait till you guys hear the next album coming out maybe next year at some point. I don't know.
We already got 2 singles planned out between Skyward and the next album.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned who they are yet. What songs we're doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it doesn't matter. We still got a lot of time for that. A lot of time.
That's true, but I did send you the recent video that shot.
I'm gonna work on that. Try to do it tonight.
All right, very cool. Looking forward to seeing it.
Just gotta throw you in there. But I've been buying a lot of stuff lately. I bought the Super 70s little action figures.
They released one of Dee Snider.
It's been out for a while, but it was on sale, so I had to get them.
It's the Stay Hungry era. That's good.
If you were shocked they released Dee Snider, you're gonna be really shocked at this one because you're a fan of this one.
Do tell.
Peter Steele.
Holy crap.
I don't know if you can see him.
They made it extra big.
Yeah. No, he was pretty cool. I saw it on there. It's like, oh, I gotta get one of those. I got
That's cool.
Danzig too. He'll be coming eventually, but he's in a different figure. And then Phil Lineup from Thin Lizzy.
Nice.
Him too. These things are so weird.
Is that the mirror pick guard base?
I don't know. Is it? I don't think so.
Probably not. Oh, well, actually, you know what? I didn't buy any new music, but I did get something cool. So, there was this Blue Agave Strat on sale on Reverb. It was very, very cheap, and Blue Agave is my favorite colored Strat. So I ended up getting it, and I modified it to my specs. So I put a gold sparkle pick guard on it, and I put 3 Ingve J. Malmsteen stacked noiseless single coils. So it sounds great. Vega tremolo, and a Hipshot detuner, gold locking tuners, and a brass nut in the headstock. So you'll actually see this in the next video that Severed Angel is releasing. Wow. And I just played it live recently at a gig with my cover band 90 Below, and it sounded so good through my Black Star tube amp. It sounded amazing. So very happy with the situation I have with that.
Oh, Jason Barker is in the YouTube chat now too. Yes, thank you, Jason. Yes, there's a lot of things you can see in the video. You can see a lot of stuff because I show a lot of things. Like I said, I was buying albums, and I wasn't really a fan of this band. I really never gave them a chance, but they're really well-known band, Raven.
Great band.
And this is the album Glow. Apparently, this is hard to get.
There's a lot of Raven stuff that's hard to get.
Yeah, but King Fally was doing the auction, and I won that from him. So.
Oh, very cool. That was a fun interview.
Yes, that was very fun. Everybody needs to go watch that interview. He's a really, really cool guy. The band Spillage I got, he was on the show Blood of Angels. He was on a show a couple months ago. Very cool guy. Sacred Dawn. This place had a sale, so that's why I got so much stuff. Hammerfall, the new Hammerfall album I got as well. And speaking of Severed Angel, if you go to Experience the Power magazine, Severed Angel has an actual article in here. It's interviews and where is it? I don't know where it is, but it's in this magazine. Oh, here it is. We are in the magazine. So if you go to Experience the Power, you can see an interview of the whole band in here, as well as
and they actually review both albums, which they kind of hinted that they prefer the debut to Skyward, but they didn't say Skyward was a bad album. So that was pretty cool.
There's the reviews right there. So Experience the Power, really cool magazine, really cool guy as well. He's done both of my bands. My other band, Project Resurrect, was in a magazine a couple of years ago as well. So really cool. What else do I got here?
Well, there's one other thing I got. So I had a red Ibanez 5-string bass, and I wasn't too crazy about it. I love Dean basses, so I was able to trade it for this 5-string Dean bass. So now I can use this to record my own material with. Oh, and if anyone needs a fill-in bassist, I'm your man.
Very cool. I forget that you play bass.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the longest time, I was playing bass on stage because there was just no jobs as a guitar player in cover bands. So I was like, well, I want to go on stage. And my brother, my late brother Michael, was a bassist, so he lent me his purple Fender jazz bass. Oh, no. And I started doing gigs. There was barely any money in it when you're in a tribute band. You made more money in a dance cover, in a top 40 cover band. But I'm still grateful to the band Panic with my friends Gary and Melissa and Mark and Jerry, who gave me the opportunity to play with them and actually make some coin. So thank you guys for that.
It's always nice when you can make some money.
As a musician, yes.
Some records that I also got. Diggeth, really cool band. If you like some doom metal, these guys are from Australia.
Diggeth.
Yeah, really. Yes. I had the bassist on the show. What was it? Oh, Harold. He was on the show a couple months ago as well. Really cool guy. Really awesome band too. So go check them out. That's their latest album. This is another one of their albums. So that's pretty cool.
Are they? You said they're a doom metal band, or are they more like a stoner rock band?
Like a stoner doom-ish rock, very Motorhead-ish sounding. Like
Okay,
Motorhead was doom.
That was a very Fu Manchu like album cover.
I know.
So
Yeah, that one was. Yep.
I love Fu Manchu. So
that was but yeah, they're like a doom metal band, but they're really cool. Very, very good. Another Spillage album. That's their debut album. Really cool. This I got in Target. This was on sale.
Really, for how much?
$8
for four. That's 4 records, 4 vinyls, I guess, right?
There's 2 in here.
Really? It's 2 vinyls.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
And there is not one song from the first 2 albums on here. That's the best of.
Really? Not even bringing on the heartbreak?
No. That's very shocking, right? You got
That's
Animal.
Insane.
Animal, Photograph, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Love Bites, Let's Get Rocked, Armageddon, It, Foolin', 2 Steps Behind, Heaven Is, Rocket, Hysteria, Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Why is that on here? Make Love
We've
Like a
debated
Man.
This.
Why is that on here? Action, When Love and Hate Collide, and Rock of Ages.
You know, I do regret not seeing Def Leppard on this tour because the majority of the set was Pyromania, and they actually broke out Coming Under Fire on this tour.
Really?
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite songs of Pyromania. I've always said the first 3 Def Leppard albums are perfect. There's not one bad song on there. Yeah. I love Hysteria, but I hate the song Excitable. So like that ruined it for me. You know, so on principle, I can't say a perfect 4 album run. You know, I say it's a perfect 3 album run with one really great album with one mistake on it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
And Sabotage Live in Japan. This is the first time on vinyl. By the way, this is
he wearing an X-Men shirt?
No, you know what it was, and I didn't notice. I think there is a version of the actual shirt he was wearing, but they had to censor it because of what he was wearing. So they put this ugly, instead of just making the shirt black, they put this big X on it. So stupid.
I guess that was before Photoshop.
I guess so. But that's why it's a big X on there. And Jason Bucker has a question. Do I play my records or just collect them? He knows people that get them and don't actually play them. No, I actually play them. I think that's kind of stupid. If you're gonna, unless you're gonna like buy something that you know is gonna be worth money, so buy 2. You know, that's what I would do. I'd buy like a extra copy this way I can open it and then. But I don't have any like things like that.
I mean, I only own 3 vinyls, but I don't own a record player. The reason why I own these 2 of these 3 records is because I was such a fan of the albums that, you know, I was able to rip it and put it onto MP3 and put it on my iPhone. But, you know, it was just to have these albums in my collection. The third one was a gift from Greg. It was the first Journey albums as a collection set, the ones without Steve Perry.
Right.
So
very cool. What were the other ones that you got?
Mama's Boys, self-titled, and Power and Passion, just because you'll never find them on Power and Passion is on you can find it on CD still, but the self-titled, like, they never even made it on CD. And I think the one copy that I found on Discogs is from South America, and you can buy it for $600, which I'm like, no.
No, thank you.
You know, and I've asked Paul McMahon, not Paul McManus is my friend from college, Pat McManus. I've asked him. He was one of the members of Mama's Boys. You know, how come the self-titled never got released? And he said because Jive owns the rights to it, and you know, we could have sued them for the masters, but they would have bled us dry just trying to get them. So, you know, they were able to release the original albums that they released before they got signed to Jive Arista. And, you know, I think that's the only one that him and John can make money on. Power and Passion, it goes straight to the labels. So, you know, I don't think they make a dime off that, unfortunately. Again, it's another casualty of the music industry. This is why I'm glad that we're not part of it, Wayne.
And we probably never will be.
And I'm okay with that.
I don't want to be.
The moment music stops being fun for me, I'll take a hammer to my hand and just fucking break it, you know.
And yes, record CDs. I even have cassettes. Everything's meant to be played. I mean, like
You
I
have
said,
8-track.
no, I'm not buying 8 tracks.
Okay.
A lot of those are usually broken anyway. And even with the cassettes, I just started buying them again because I was like, you know what? I used to have all those cassettes, and it just brings back like memories and stuff like that. Stupid, it's just another thing to collect. Um, Jason says I was reading how they are 3D printing records now. Really, I am interested
Interesting.
in how the quality is. Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
I don't think it could work. Not on a record player because it's not vinyl.
How do they get the music on it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because on the vinyl, it's pressed on there. So how do you 3D print? That's very strange. I don't know how that would work.
No idea. Have you seen any movies lately, or have you binge watched any TV shows?
I did watch. We went to the movies to go see. Damn, what the hell's the name of that movie? It's
Deadpool, Wolverine.
Nope. It was a chick flick. It Ends With Us, I think it's called.
Oh, that with Mrs. Ryan Reynolds.
Yes. That's why she looked familiar. Okay, thank you. Yeah. It wasn't bad. It was okay. My wife wanted to go see it, so I was like, whatever.
The last chick flick my wife dragged me to go see with her in the movies was He's Just Not That Into You, and I fucking hated that movie. Well, that movie also came out at a time when my dad had just passed away like the week before. Then there's a scene where Jennifer Aniston's father has a heart attack, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Like it triggered me really badly. So, I didn't want any part of it. I did see Deadpool Wolverine, and I loved it.
I want to see that.
I would have to say it's the best MCU film since Endgame, although I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And it's kind of hard for me to accept that within the context of the MCU, because with the exception of Gamora having been dead already because Thanos threw her he had to kill her to get the soul stone. You didn't see Infinity War? Oh wow, okay.
No, I'm really behind.
All right. Well, okay. So the two best films the MCU came out with since Endgame were Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and this one, Deadpool Wolverine. It made the comic fan in me very happy. And I just finished watching the Amazon Prime series, The Boys.
Oh, okay. I've heard things about that show.
The funny thing is, like, I mean, I love comics, but I've always hated Superman. And it was
funny because I was never really a Superman fan either, and a friend of mine was like a huge Superman fan.
I fucking hated Superman because, for one, I always preferred Batman. I couldn't stand the fact that there was a superhero who could fly, who was indestructible, who had heat vision, who it could breathe in space, and apparently his one weakness is kryptonite, where I'm just like, so Bruce Wayne could just buy a $20,000 piece of rock and kill him. Boom, he's not indestructible. And Bruce could afford it.
Right.
So, Homelander, the major antagonist of the show, he's like the anti-Superman. Like he's what would happen if Superman went bad.
Right.
And, it's just really well done. But there's just one issue I have with the show.
What's that?
There's a lot of dicks on it.
Oh.
I'm just like, now I know what what's the Tubby kid from Superbad. Like,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He was just saying, all I see are dicks, all I draw are dicks, dicks. And I'm like, yep, he must be. If you're an adolescent youth watching The Boys, you will be reluctantly watching a lot of dicks. It's a lot of, but if you can look past that, it's a very good show.
Yeah, go check that out. And on that note, I'm just going to say goodbye now on freeworld.fm because it's almost 10 o'clock. So thank you very much for tuning in, listening on freeworld.fm. And you can always watch us on YouTube, Rat Salad Review as well. And we'll be here next week. just like always, 8 p.m. Eastern on freeworld.fm and on YouTube. All right. So
Thanks for
thank you,
listening.
guys.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Cheers.
But yeah, we're still live on YouTube. But yeah, no, I gotta catch up on that. That show, I don't know. I'm just I don't have time to watch all these shows, man. And then we got I'm wearing the shirt.
I can't fucking wait for that.
Terrifier. I can't wait for that to come out. So that'll be the next thing I watch.
Cool. Well, you have Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yes, you'll see Deadpool, Wolverine in no time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Which reminds me, I need your Shutter account.
My Shutter account?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll forward it. I'll text you the info tonight. Just
Yeah, give
check.
me the info.
Do you want me to send it to you via Messenger or
Yeah,
we're still
whatever. We're still
wait,
live on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah.
I am not giving out my Shutter account. I would never share my account with anyone.
I didn't say that.
That doesn't happen in real life.
No. People do not share accounts. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed. We had like 5 people watching the entire time that we were on, and we went on. We usually only do an hour on YouTube, but we went a pretty long time, 2 hours tonight. So
well, we talked about 3 Blondie albums that you hated all of them.
Yeah, that's fun. Hey, but that's what, that's my thing. We all did a show together. So even if I don't like something and you guys want to do it, I don't care. We'll just do it, and I'll suffer through it. You guys suffer through all my stuff, so
But I don't
like to be
equal. The heart. 2 things were difficult for me. One was Motorama, but I'll say that's because of what I was going through at the time, which was losing my mom. So I'm not going to put that on you.
Well, and it had nothing to do with me.
No, I know, but I mean, it was your pick. So, and I think the other thing was 13 by Black Sabbath. Other than that, I never had a problem reviewing anything. That wasn't
my choice. That was just we were just doing it.
I know, but it's still a shit album.
It is. Yeah, Jason said a 3D printed record thing is new. And no, I cannot see that being great. There's no way.
I mean, are you printing vinyl? Like, are you printing the actual material of vinyl?
The thing it prints. I have a 3D printer, and it prints. What is it called? PLA. It's plastic. Unless there's some kind of special stuff that you put in a 3D. I don't know. It's weird.
You know what I think? I think the person to ask would probably be, the great one, Mr. Harry Barnett.
I was just gonna say I'll have to talk to him about it and see if he knows anything about it. Maybe.
By the way, Harry, we miss you.
I would, and I also too would think that would just destroy the needle, unless it's done like right. I don't know. Very strange. Yeah, no idea either. But there will not be a 3D printed Severed Angel album. I can tell you that.
Unless you want to display it, then go ahead.
Yes, you can display it. And if you do want to buy a Severed Angel album, you can go to severedangel.bandcamp.com, or you can just go to severedangel.com and get all that stuff on there. And you can get this album right here, Skyward, and the debut album. They're both available, and you can get those.
Yes, we're very proud of them.
Oh yes, there are resin printers. Yes, those are nice printers.
And we're already gearing up to release album 3 next year. So I would thank you to everyone that bought a copy of Skyward.
But you didn't buy enough, so you better buy some now, because I have boxes and boxes of these things.
Okay. It's when we could talk about this, because hiring Munzie to get us radio airplay, I thought was a great move.
Still alive, by the way.
That's fine.
Okay.
The thing is, though, we didn't have the services of somebody like Ben from Online Metal Promo.
Who's now gone.
Who is now gone. Ben, thanks for everything you've done for all the bands and for supplying us a great band. So hopefully there'll be someone else taking the mantle who will do just as good a job as you do. Not Vlad. Anyway, sorry, I had a cough. So we'll see what happens with When Eternity Ends, album number 3.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yes.
Good stuff. I think that's it.
All right, cool. Wayne, thanks again for having me on as always.
Okay.
Even though I'm your co-host.
You can come back next week.
I'll be back.
All right, good.
Dun, 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 dun.
And thanks everybody for watching the show. Had a lot of fun tonight, and thanks for everybody being in the chat too. We had a lot of people in this chat on YouTube and as well on the free world. So it was really cool to have everything all at the same time.
Yes,
And
we appreciate all of you.
And join me tomorrow. I will be on Almost Human Live, and we are doing Iron Maiden Power Slave versus Merciful Fate. Don't Break the Oath, and it's 40th anniversary for both of those albums. So
isn't that insane? 40 years ago, those freaking milestone albums.
Yep. I'm only 45, and it was 5 years before I was born. So it's crazy. It's really crazy. But
who would have thought that some of these bands would still be playing these songs 40 years later?
Right? I know. It's insane, and they're still around. I think they got Iron Maiden's got one more album. I think they're not. I read something the other day. There's nothing written, and I hope they get it done because Nico, had a stroke, and now apparently he can't like play some of the drum patterns that he usually does. So
I saw some of the live footage from Australia, and he's definitely getting his chops back, better than they were on the first leg of the Future Past tour. But I mean, these guys, the guys that made it are between their mid 60s to Nico's, I think 72.
Yeah, I think he's the oldest, right?
Yeah. So, they're not going to be around forever. So, enjoy them while you still can. And because in the end, all we'll have left is the music,
That's it. And they got plenty of it. So, but I hope they can get at least one more in. All right. I said goodbye enough. Goodbye.
Cheers.